Hi, Olia, and welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much. So, Olia, I'll start quickly by telling you how I first got to know about you. Basically, my boyfriend really loves cooking, and I really love eating. So he watches all sorts of programs about cooking, and every time I hear something about Moldova, I really get excited. Like, for example, they were showing some wines on James Martin's show, and I got super excited and I shout and I scream, and I'm just very excited. So one time on Saturday Kitchen, here you are presenting you as an Ukrainian chef. And I'm telling you, I got as excited when I heard, as if I heard about Moldova. I just started jumping up and down. And I don't usually pay too much attention, but when you're on Saturday Kitchen, I got so excited, so happy to see you there. And basically, I want to first tell you that I'm really proud of you. Well done for everything you're doing. I'm super happy every time I see you or I read an interview about you. And second of all, I'm really happy. Actually, the first time that we spoke, you told me about your Moldovan roots. So that's even more good news for me.
Thank
So
you so much.
I'd like to start by asking you a little bit about your Moldovan roots and if you've ever been to Moldova, actually.
Unfortunately, I still haven't been. In fact, it's a bit of a sore subject because we were going to go this summer. We were
Oh,
finally going to
plans got
take it.
cancelled for everyone.
Yeah, everything got cancelled this summer. It makes me very sad. And in terms of Moldovan roots, two of my great grandmothers on both on my mother's side and on my father's side apparently were Moldovan. Um, and a lot of my mom's family is actually from Bessarabia, which is, borders with Moldova. Um, so quite a few dishes in our family, we would I would ask like, oh, how come I haven't seen these kind of dishes in other houses and stuff? And then my mom would kind of bring up and say, well, your great grandmother was Moldovan, and some of these dishes have passed on and through my granny. So yeah, this is the story. But I would really love to go there to find the village in Bessarabia first of all, because we traveled all over Bessarabia for the summer kitchens to shoot it and for research, but I haven't made it to that village. It was actually called Paris, which means Paris,
Oh.
which is quite a funny one. It's been renamed since then, but yeah. So yeah, that's my story. I wish that I knew more detail, but I don't. Maybe I should go to my mom's oldest brother and talk to him actually while I still can and find out more.
That will be amazing. I'll be really happy to read about your travel whenever it will be possible for you to go back. And you should definitely try Moldovan wine if you didn't try already.
Oh yes, I have tried. It's absolutely fantastic. And
Oh,
my brother traveled around Moldova, and we sat there and we poured over the photos, and it's just incredible. Now of course, now that I want to mention it, it flew out of my head. But what's the kind of a valley called around? Oh gosh, what is that place called? It's so amazing. The landscape is just incredible.
is it Orheilvik?
Yes,
Maybe?
that's it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's just such a underrated and yet unknown place here in the UK and elsewhere in the world. To our listeners, I highly recommend whenever you get a chance to travel again to maybe do Ukraine and Moldova at the same time. They're so good.
Yes, they should go and visit. We should definitely promote that. And I read somewhere as well, because you're saying about Paris is fine. It's funny because I read that on the border with the Ukraine and Moldova, there is a town in the Ukraine called the Ukrainian Venice. Is that it? Where
Oh
you're
yes,
going?
it's called Vilkove.
Oh,
And it's and we shot there for the book actually for Summer Kitchens. It's they call it Ukrainian Venice, but it's actually really wild looking in the summer. So I would call it more like a Ukrainian Vietnam. But everybody travels by boats, and it's colorful and it is just an incredible place. Uh, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of the 18th century, Russian old believers fled Russia, central Russia, because they were persecuted because they didn't want to change a few of the religious traditions, and they came to this place, and which was a swamp essentially. So with their own hands, pretty much, they dug out all of the earth and put it all in a mound and created a town in the swamp, basically, and preserved their traditions, very fiercely for many centuries.
Ola, let's go a little bit in your past. And so I'll tell you, for example, because we come from similar kind of countries from the former Soviet Union, I always had the desire to go out meaning to another country, to explore new countries, because we also had that time when we weren't allowed to travel, we weren't allowed to go to other countries. So I always had this dream since I was little to just go somewhere to other countries to explore new food, new cultures. Did you have this kind of feeling, or how come you basically ended up living in the UK and Italy and Cyprus? Did you have this feeling, or was it something else that made you go?
I did have this feeling, as you say. We haven't been allowed to go. Well, when the Soviet Union broke up, I guess I was 6 years old. And the first time I went abroad was when I was 9 with my parents. I think we went to Italy. That was the first country that I visited. But there's always been this desire to be somewhere else, that's for sure. Because, it's been such a forbidden fruit, and listening to my parents' stories and to their youth when they were just not able to go anywhere, it was... you made the desire even bigger. And but it was my parents. They moved us to Cyprus when I was 12, almost 13. One of the reasons actually was, my dad started doing pretty well with his sunflower oil business. So he had a little bit of money. And also I had this really horrendous asthma attacks since I was a baby, really, a small child. And I felt good in Cyprus. We went there for a holiday, and I didn't have my attacks one summer. Wow. So then my dad was like, right, we're moving to Cyprus. Which was great. And I still remember that feeling when we actually moved. And I remember driving along the beach road and whatever, and there were loads of lights, and I still remember that feeling of being very much taken from rural Ukraine and into this different place. And actually I haven't had this feeling for a very long time. Thank you for reminding me. And it was it was fantastic. It was safe and it was warm. My mom, I think, was in complete heaven because she hates cold weather, so the winters there are extremely mild. And went to an English school there. And then when it came to doing my exams, there was two choices, really. I either was going to go to America or the UK. And then I thought about it, and I thought, I'm so attached to my family, it would be too far to go to America. So I decided to go to the UK. And and that's it. And then I applied with my results, applied to a few universities, and I got accepted to the University of Warwick and moved to the UK when I was 18. And I lived in Coventry and Leamington and Warwick. And then I had a year abroad in Italy because I studied Italian language at uni for my BA. Mm-hmm. And then I did my master's in London, and I remained here. So it's been just over 17 years now that I've been in the UK. And I still pinch myself, even though I've lived out of Ukraine longer than I did in. I still went back every year, or even twice a year, to see my family, my parents, and my brother and his family. And so I never kind of completely was detached from it. But yeah, I've lived abroad longer than I did back at home, and it's this kind of distance that made me value and look at Ukraine in a different way. I still remember being a child and having this desire to be abroad, but I also look at it through my kind of British eyes in a way,
Yeah.
and can appreciate its beauty, and of course the food and how our families are, etc. It's really interesting to have this duality, in a way, to have these two different people sitting inside of you. I don't know, how long have you been out of Moldova? Do you feel similar?
Yeah, I left when I was 18. I studied in Romania and then in Belgium and then came to the UK. I've been here for 6 years now.
Hmm.
And I totally get what you mean. I sometimes feel like I don't belong anywhere because I
Yeah.
had this time when I really wanted to leave and really wanted to explore and got these new cultures absorbing it. And now I kind of have the opportunity and the luck to choose whatever I want. So I choose the good things from being Moldovan and the good things from being from, to other countries that I lived in. So it's kind of, sometimes I feel like I don't belong to any country because I'm not fully adapted to any. When I go
Yeah.
back to Moldova, I feel I kind of have a little bit of different mentality, but then when I'm here, I feel sometimes that I have Moldovan mentality. So it's kind of a weird place, but you get to pick what you like from both worlds, basically.
Yeah, that's a very good way of looking at it. I sometimes feel with my with the languages, I feel almost I'm in this kind of a weird purgatory almost, because I think in English, and I definitely can express myself about most things better in English, even though it's not my first language. I didn't speak it very well until I was 14 maybe. My English wasn't very good when I moved to Cyprus. Um, and I have an accent and etc. But then also I'm not so good in Russian and Ukrainian anymore. So I'm just like sometimes feel yeah, it's interesting to be uprooted and then lay new roots, but also be kind of up in the air a bit with it all,
Yeah,
and being a
exactly.
bit of a nomad.
How did you find adapting to the UK, by the way, when you first came?
UK. Yeah, it was good. There were mainly actually I didn't have a very good time in high school in Cyprus. I don't think. I It's no one's fault. I think it's just that kind of teenage years. Some people love it and find their tribe, and it's all good. For me, it was a bit difficult. So when I went to university in England, I immediately found friends and people that were completely on my wavelength, and I loved it. I just loved being a student in the UK and then also in Italy. Although not without hiccups, there were a couple of things that are still I remember so vividly because I felt so embarrassed when it happened. So one of them was queuing for a bus. I didn't. I There was a really long queue to get on the bus, and I don't know if it's our aversion to queues because of the Soviet Union or whatever. I just didn't think that people would voluntarily want to queue in a free country. So, so I didn't even notice, to be honest, that it was a queue. So I went straight for the front door, and luckily that the guy, a young man, he was really nice. He just went. He explained it to me. He was just like, "Oh, in the UK we kind of queue for buses, so you have to go to the back of the queue." And I was just like, "Oh, yeah." To the back of the queue, and of course I queued for buses ever since then. And then there was another thing which was a little bit less pleasant. It was the time still when you didn't book tickets online, but you had to call the airlines. And I remember phoning, and this woman answered, and she was like, "Hello," and I went, "Hello," and I asked her about the plan. She was like, "Oh, this is not an airline," and and I panicked. I just went, like children do sometimes, and I just panicked and I pressed, abort. And I pressed the button, and I just sat there like, oh my God, why didn't I just say I'm sorry? And then guess what? She phones back because she had the number, so she phoned back and she gave me a really long bollocking. She was like, in this country, if you phone up and you don't put the phone down, and I was like, okay, sorry. And then I told my friends, and they were like, you should have told it to F off. I was like, no. But so that was quite a funny one. But other than that, those are the two bright memories I have of kind of like cultural dissonance. Otherwise, it's been really good. I found myself very much at home. I love the humor. I love self-deprecation. I think that Ukrainians can be quite self-deprecating in that way as well. And in that, I found some kind of kinship, I think. And then, I've just made tons of friends. And I don't know at work, everyone was quite international. I guess in London as well, you have people from all over. I don't know if it's how reflective London is of the UK. Although, to be honest with you, I've been to Liverpool many times, and as I say, I lived in the Midlands, and it's great. I love it. It's definitely home now as well as Ukraine. But yes, as you say, still you're kind of like, am I British enough? Am I Ukrainian enough? I don't know.
I totally get it. And I'll quickly tell you about a little embarrassing story. And I have loads of them when I misunderstand expressions. I usually get it with words or expression. So I was at an office job, and a girl kept saying, oh, I have a headache. I have a headache. So I just remembered she had a headache. And then later on, she comes to me and she says, I have a brainwave. And I didn't know what the brainwave means. Yeah. So me trying to guess, I'm thinking, oh, she has a headache, brainwave, something with a headache. So I literally told her to just go home. But she was so nice because she explained to me that means I have an idea. So imagine someone coming to you and saying, I have an idea. Oh, go home. Ideas are not allowed in here. And I have loads of them, trust me.
Oh, that's really sweet. I love that.
But it's so nice because I had really nice colleagues, and they're just like having a laugh about it. And actually, do we have time to tell you another one that
Yes, please,
laugh
please.
about?
I'm loving this. I think you should do a podcast just about these kind of stories. It's so good.
This one is actually the opposite, and it will make you laugh because you know Russian as well. So basically, I was trying to teach a few of my colleagues a few Russian words, and they're really enjoying it, but they weren't learning the alphabet yet because I just thought I'll just teach them easy words that they can just use in every day, like hello and stuff like that. So it was one of their birthday, and the other colleague that was learning Russian with me and didn't know the alphabet went online and tried to write happy birthday, and she wrote on the card and passed it on to me. And I was going to to write happy birthday again, and she actually wrote бесплатные онлайн игры or something like that, like free online gaming, because she didn't press translate button. Oh no, so funny on the birthday card.
So lovely of you to teach your colleagues some Russian, though. That's cool.
Oh, it's such fun, though. It's such fun. And
did you tell her about what it said?
Yeah, we all had a laugh, but that's why I love it in here, because you can all have a laugh about each other. And I definitely had more silly things that I said than this incident, but it's nice because we explain to each other and then we have a laugh about it, and then we keep reminding each other about it, so it's quite fun. Yeah, I like the humor in here as well, but trust me, I've done so many mistakes and things that I misunderstand. And I also have a British boyfriend, so he keeps laughing at what I say every day, so it's quite fun. So I think I've deviated a lot from our conversation, but I like it because we can have a nice laugh together. And actually, saying that, I read somewhere that you were living on green lanes, and I lived on green lanes as well. And I was thinking, oh, why didn't I meet Olia once you was there? Because I really want to meet you one day in person. You're just such a lovable person and friendly and down to earth. So it's
We
really.
can still make it happen. We can
Oh,
we can go to Green Lanes together to Yasar Halim or something and have a coffee and some Turkish pastries. That would be
oh la
great.
la.
I
That
miss it.
sounds.
I lived there for 5 years. It was such a wonderful place.
Yeah.
Whereabouts were you?
Uh, so I can't remember exactly the name of the street, but so it was what
I
was
mean,
this?
Green Lanes is so long, isn't it?
I
Such a
know
big.
it's so long. I already forget the names of the streets because I haven't been living in London for a few years, for 3 or 4 years now. But
Whereabouts are you now?
well, in Surrey.
Oh, okay. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
not too far. You're not back in Moldova then.
Oh, no. No,
No.
but we've been living, well, we've been traveling for a year in the motorhome around Europe, and we came back in March.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Did you have to cut your trip short or?
Yeah, a month short, actually. We were in Spain
I'm
when the
sorry to
pandemic
hear
started.
that.
Oh, that's okay. At least it was towards the end of the year, so that was okay. We
Yeah.
just came back a month earlier. I mean, nowadays it's just important to be safe and healthy,
Yeah,
really.
of course.
But
Yeah.
it was a little bit stressful because we had a lot of police coming. It was super strict in Spain when we got basically trapped in there because you weren't allowed to be in nature.
Oh wow.
So obviously we were in our home in nature and we were still not
Oh,
allowed. But yeah, they were
that's
super friendly.
stressful.
Sorry.
That sounds stressful. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I mean, it's part of life thing. Yeah, but we managed to get safely back, and yeah, everything is fine. And the
That
police was super friendly. It's just rules are rules, aren't they?
Yeah, of course. That was our idea actually to go from Ukraine in a motorhome, as you say, and travel through Moldova. And yeah, well, I'm hoping I'm not giving up hope. Hopefully next year or the year after we can still do it. And actually now I have you to ask for some advice
Yeah,
where to
definitely.
go and to see, it's so nice to be able to go into people's homes. We did that for obviously for summer kitchens. Can I just quickly explain to our listeners what summer kitchens are
Of
before I
course, of
keep
course.
going on about
Please.
it? I don't know if you guys have a very I suspect you have a very similar thing in Moldova. It's a one room little house, nothing glamorous, but this is where you cook your daily meals in the summer because it gets so hot, and you also do all of the kind of preservation, fermenting, jam making, etc. in September. All of the supplies that you need for winter because, well, Ukraine is still super seasonal and people eat. You don't have. I mean, you do now a bit more, I guess, tomatoes in winter and stuff, but we just call them glass tomatoes and they're not very much rated. So it's much
Yeah.
better to have one out of a jar, I think, in winter. So yeah, that's what they are. Actually, do you guys have them in Moldova?
Yeah, we have a similar version. Yeah, definitely. Well, at least my grandparents used to have an outside place where they would have an oven and they would go there and bake bread and stuff like that, but also pickling things, I guess. So yeah,
Yeah.
so there is something similar, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
it will be very interesting when you'll go to Moldova and we can compare traditions
Yeah.
and similar foods because I saw you included plăcinte, Moldovan twisted cheese. What are they called in English? I
Yeah.
forgot already. I saw you included the Moldovan recipe for twisted rolls, but we also have, I guess, a little bit of similar influences, like, I don't know, stuffed cabbage leaves and things like that. But we have different things as well. So I'm super excited after you'll go to Moldova to have a chat about what did you find different and what did you find similar.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you a question actually, because I suspect that the way that my grandmother called those dishes wasn't entirely correct, almost. So, for example, placinda for us were the flat, the flat stuffed flatbreads that were stuffed with either cheese, or you had the sweet pumpkin ones as well. And what she called virtuta was what you guys, I think, call placinda.
Yeah, we call it placinta. It's that kind of like
The twisted one.
the twisted one. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
we call placinta. Yeah.
that's interesting. And I don't know, call them virtuta. And I don't know, maybe it's the border thing. You know, things get slightly changed at the borders. I found when, you know, we traveled around, and it's interesting how you get influences.
But I think even in Moldova, if you go to different regions, they call it differently. I think they make flat ones in Moldova as well in certain regions, and they call them placinta too. But
So
I mean, I should definitely discover more Moldova, because, and that's another question that I wanted to ask you. When you did your research for your cookbooks, did you find a different type of Ukraine from what you remembered? Because I find that I don't know much about Moldova, as much as I should maybe, and it would be nice actually going with a motorhome as well and explore it, and maybe we can just meet at some point with the motorhomes in Moldova. But did you find a different type of Ukraine when you did the research?
Yes, absolutely. So exactly as you say, you know, I was very used to my part of Ukraine, so Khersonshina in the south, and we traveled all around the south. You know, obviously Crimea. We used to go in the summer when I was little, and then my mom and dad and my grandma lived in Mykolаivshina, in this town called Voznesensk. And Zaporizhia we went to quite a lot, and Kiev, and Western Ukraine once when I was little, when I was 10, which was really an amazing experience because it was so authentic. I don't like the word authentic, but you know, there was so much tradition there still, which we kind of, it was erased a little bit in the south, I felt. So when we traveled for the book, you know, we did around 10,000 kilometers or so all over Ukraine, with various drivers and fixes, and you know, bumpy roads and all that, and it was incredible. It really opened my eyes, and the diversity was staggering. You know, culinary and traditions and culture, etc. There was in Bessarabia, there was a Bulgarian village, which, you know, was created by these Bulgarian settlers a couple of centuries ago. And in up north, we went to the Belarus border, and again, that was different. And Poltava was completely enchanting, and again, even the language was, the accent was so different in Ukrainian. You know, I sometimes I found it really hard to understand. And Transcarpathia, the village that we went to, was equidistant from 30 kilometers away from Romania, from Slovakia, and from Hungary. And you could see those influences from all three countries in the language and in the food, and you know, the music, everything. It was the most fascinating thing, and I highly recommend to people to try and discover and travel more around their home country, because we think that we know, but we don't, and there's always so much more to discover and to learn.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And it sounds like the process of doing research for your books is really, really interesting. And I want to get to talk more about your books, actually, because we've been having so much fun until now, but I definitely need to include, not that I need to, but I want to include more about your books. And at this chapter, I actually asked a friend of mine. So I'll tell you quickly about her. She's from Moldova, and she lives in San Francisco, and she worked at a 2 Michelin star restaurant as a pastry chef. Mm-hmm. So basically, she used to be very shy about saying that she's from Moldova, and she really got inspired by you. And she started realizing that it's okay to be proud of who you are when you are from, and basically inspired by your cookbooks and what you're doing in general, she started compiling and testing and improving 80 recipes from Moldova of desserts, because she's a pastry chef.
Yeah.
And she's compiling it to write her own book, and she's super, super inspired by you. So she sent me some questions for you, if that's okay. Can we go through them?
No, that's so nice. I love it. Of course.
Perfect. So the first one is, what made you write a book, and how did you get the idea of writing it and to basically become an author?
I changed career in 2009, 2010, I guess. I finished Leeds. And to be honest with you, I thought that my ultimate dream was maybe to work for a magazine and test recipes and maybe write some recipes in a magazine. I never really thought that I would have a book. Completely, that's a very honest thing. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to cook. I didn't care really what happened. So actually, I ended up working in a restaurant for a bit. And then I had a surprise pregnancy, and I had my son, my older son, that was 8 years ago now. And I took some time off. I stopped doing restaurant work, obviously. It wasn't possible. And then I came back to work when he was 6 months old, and I started doing catering. And then eventually I got a job as a recipe developer for the startup company called Recipe Kit. And we had a lot of fun. It was a great endeavor, and I did it for a year. And then things didn't really work out, and the company folded, and I kind of lost my job. And I remember that it was February, and I was already kind of, just me and my son. And I remember being quite depressed, actually. I thought that I had enough experience to start doing, food styling. But mm-hmm. And I sent my CV to people, but nobody wanted me. And because in their eyes I didn't have enough experience, which I think they were right. And I was just there alone. And in order to keep myself occupied and not to become depressed, because I had a very young son, he was just 1.5 years. I thought, I need to make myself do stuff. So I started writing down recipes. I was already writing for The Guardian, and they were really keen on my Eastern European, my mom's recipes, essentially. And that kind of gave me a little pang of encouragement, and I started jotting things down. There's still an Instagram post somewhere in the ether where I say, I'm doing this because I don't want to fall into depression. And then I don't know if I believe in this thing where maybe you kind of attract, good things if you kind of start thinking about them or wishing them to happen or something. I don't know. But an agent got in contact with me, and she said, I saw a couple of your recipes in The Guardian. It's very interesting, your Ukrainian dishes. Nobody's really doing this in this kind of slightly modern way. Can you come and see me? And I went to see her, and she said, you tick every, all the boxes, but you're not quite there yet with your profile. You have, 500 followers, and you need 50,000 or something. And go away for a couple of years, come back to me, keep doing your thing, and then maybe something will happen. And then within the following 2 months, I kind of my heart sank, and I was like, we were so close. But I didn't stop. I started emailing different assistant photographers, people that I love their work. And I said, please, can we do a test shoot with, I've got some Ukrainian dishes that I want to shoot. And actually a few of them said no, because they thought, Ukrainian food, no thanks. And then one of them, Chris Kirkham, said yes. In fact, he was very enthusiastic. He was amazing. We shot these recipes. And then this other thing happened, which was really weird. I don't even use LinkedIn, really, but somebody contacted me, Rowena, and she a Scottish video maker, and she wanted to become a photographer. And she said, can we do a test shoot? I will, you can make some food and I'll take photographs for my portfolio. And I said, yes, in exchange, if you could maybe film me. And she filmed me. And then and she filmed me make these Georgian tabaka pusans, actually. And then she sent the video off to the Guardian video team, who didn't know about that I had a couple of recipes published or anything like that. But they said, oh, who's this woman? And she explained, and then they said, please, can you bring her in for a meeting? And I did, and then they kind of alerted the publisher, and then basically within 2 months I called my agent, who's still my agent, and I say, Ariella, I know you said 2 years, but things are happening. And she signed me up, and and that month, the following month, there were three publishers that wanted my book, and it was again, I'm still pinching myself. It's been quite a strange and beautiful thing. And
that sounds really amazing. I definitely think and believe about attracting things, and I also think that things fall into places, and it kind of makes sense when you look back at your experience, because you had journalism experience, you had cooking experience at the top restaurant with Ottolenghi and so on. So it kind of made sense probably for you as well. I know at the time maybe it didn't seem like that, but sometimes when you look back, you think, oh yeah, I had that experience from there, that helped me, and that from here, and it kind
like
of, I guess,
puzzle pieces of
fell all into pieces.
I also have, I don't know, I'm not a particularly, I don't know if I'm particularly mystical. I'm definitely spiritual, but I like to believe that, my grandmother Lucia, who cooked all of those Moldovan dishes, actually, she was the main kind of matriarch in our large family, and she was, very strong and also very kind, and she was just the most amazing cook. And my aunt Eugenia, who died just before I got the, just before I got the Mamushka book deal. In fact, they are, sorry. In fact,
okay, take your time.
The picture of both of them is on Mamushka, and the book is dedicated to them.
Oh, bless you.
And I believe that they somehow, made the stars align for me or something. I don't know. I just have this feeling that they're looking after me in a way. Sorry.
I completely, no, it's okay. Honestly, do you know what? A few days ago, and
nobody a little bit
sorry?
more cool. No, it's fine. So I sometimes I do believe actually that maybe there are atoms or however else life exists after death or whatever, or some energy that they have released into this world, that it somehow has taken me into a swirl of this kind of like energetic positive hurricane of sorts, and is helping me go on.
I know exactly what you're saying, and honestly, a few days ago, I burst into tears as well, because all of my grandparents died when I was quite little, and my mom gave me this handmade towel. She did it, like she cross-stitched it herself such a long time ago, and she gave it to me quite recently, and I was just touching it and thinking, like, I lost my grandmother when I was so little, but I feel it, like she is with me, and I know that she touched that towel, and I just like kept holding it and crying, because I have exactly the same feelings that you just said about it, and I feel that she's with me and she's guarding on me, and totally get you.
Good.
Absolutely.
And somebody made this dish yesterday, and they posted it on Instagram, and we called it noodly. I don't know if you guys make, again, I think it's from Bessarabia. There's a German dish that's very similar that's called strudli. I'm sure that it has Germanic origins, but it's basically these fluffy, swirly dumplings that you kind of like put on top of a pork rib and potato stew, and they made with a kefir dough, so they become really puffy. So they get steamed on top, and then they absorb all of the juices in the bottom. And it's just such a beautiful dish that we always cook together when we used to get together with our extended family and stuff. And and somebody made it yesterday, and it's still shocks me a little bit and makes me so happy. And I wrote to them and I said, oh, thank you so much for making it. I wish that Lucia saw this. She would be so proud and and I think so surprised as well that that people are. Maybe she wouldn't be surprised. She always thought that her cooking was pretty amazing to be like more
Oh,
like would look at it with approval and say like, oh yes, this is very good. It looks amazing. Yeah, so yeah, it's a nice thing. It's a way like your towel, your embroidery, and also recipes. They keep us connected to
yeah,
our
exactly.
history.
Exactly. I'll just quickly go through a few more questions and then I'll let you go because I imagine you're such a busy person. I just honestly feel so privileged to have time with you right now.
Oh no, it's not a pleasure. I just have a 6-month-old. That's my main.
Oh. So I'll wrap up pretty quickly. Just one more question from the questions that my friend sent. Who took the photographs? Because you have such amazing photographs, and you already answered kind of the question for the first book. And for the second, I think I was listening to a podcast where you're saying that you went with Elena. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you traveled together.
Yeah, it's Elena Heatherwick. She did my second book, Cookbook, and the third one, it was Elena again. She's such an extraordinary portraitist and well, photographer in general, but she just has this very special touch when it comes to photographing people and places, and I really wanted her to do it. And I also had my husband Joe Woodhouse, who came with us, and he's also a photographer. He's a food and travel photographer, so he also took some pictures of landscapes and also all of the food, because also it was quite practical for us to continue shooting when we came back here, although some of the dishes were shot there. But yeah, so it was both of them actually. So it was the three of us, the traveling circus, just driving around Ukraine and going into people's summer kitchens and bothering them about old forgotten recipes and trying to take pictures of everything.
Oh, next time it should definitely be easier in a motorhome. You just have all the stuff with you all the time, so that's great.
With me, just very quickly off subject, we did it with my husband. We went on a honeymoon. We went from LA to Vancouver, all along the
Yes.
coast, and it was just the most magical thing. That's
Oh,
my favorite way to travel, I think.
yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And I'm glad that you're on the same wave with me. And I
Yes.
can't wait to stay in touch. And if you have any questions about Moldova, I'm just happily going to answer to all your questions. And towards the end, I just want to ask you quickly. I mean, you've had so many nice reviews from all sorts of people in magazines. I don't know, Nigella Lawson. You had the Observer's Rising Star, New York Times. I think they did a profile recently on you, and so on and so on. You have a lot of nice accolades and nice reviews from even like Fortnum and Mason and all these big names. Was there any particular one that kind of made you feel like, yes, I made it now, like I really made it? Or because you seem like a very approachable, down-to-earth person, so I imagine for you motivation is actually the love of cooking, not necessarily who was the most famous person to review you. But I'm just curious to know if there was a certain point when you thought, wow, I can't believe this happened, and this person bought my book and they said this thing. And
You know what it was actually, and yes, there was a moment, and all of those, absolutely. Oh my God, I am so grateful. And of course, I mean, in a way, when the Observer Rising Star situation happened, it was completely shocking. And I read that paper, and I've read it for so many years. So it was an amazing honor. Fortnum and Mason, all of those things. Nigella, of course. There was a really funny one though. There was my cousin sent me that I was in a English textbook for Ukrainians who are learning English. There was, you know how you have exercises, and it had a text about me. I think it had like, Olia Hercules is a Ukrainian-based chef, da, 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 da. And then you had to do like an exercise basically and put the correct words in. And that was like one of the biggest accolades. I just thought I definitely made it. I'm in a thing, in a textbook like that. That was I thought that was really sweet and it really is strange in a good way. But yeah, of course. And also, apart from all of those accolades, it's just really lovely to hear from people and get messages and sometimes even letters. I had a handwritten letter from Berlin once from a woman who said how much she loved the book. And then I had a lady from Australia who was in her 70s or 80s, and she had Ukrainian roots. And she said that it was her first time using a laptop. And she sent me a picture and a letter saying how much she loved the book, and that she sent it to her children across across Australia and stuff. So it's just little like bits like that. So thank you to whoever does send me little messages, whether online or whatever. It encourages me to kind of want to do more and to write for you, and it's the most magical and heartwarming and happiness-inducing thing.
Oh, that is so lovely to hear. And I wish you all the best and more inspiration to write even more. And I'm super happy we spoke today. And please expect a letter from me because I'll be sending you the painting. So thank you again, and good luck with everything. And honestly, I'm super proud of you, and I really love talking to you. You're such a happy, bright person, and yeah, just I don't know. I'm too emotional right now to say anything else.
Thank you. Yeah, it was such a pleasure.
Oh, I wish you all the best.
See you on the road.
Yes. Campers. Hello, beep beep. Thank you. See you later.
See you later.